A slightly more fun one. A quote from Rowan Atkinson, and I presume is the introduction in a speech. Rowan is a famous comedian, British comedian. He's Mr. Bean, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
So he says, as I was leaving this morning, I said to myself, the last thing you must do is forget your speech. And sure enough, if I left the house this morning, the last thing I did was to forget my speech. And I guess ambiguity of language is a great source of wordplay and a great source of comedy as well, right?
Yeah, there's a few other sketches on that kind of thing. I don't know if you came across them.
Sketchplanation sketches.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few. Well, actually, maybe just before I go on that, because when I sent out the fortnightly one, a couple of people wrote to me about some research that I really like. And I came across in the early 2000s by Lera Boroditsky. I think I might have mentioned it before, but it's such a classic example here, which is this ambiguity in time. And the classic example is if the meeting on Wednesday has been moved forward by 2 days, when is the meeting?
Oh, good. It's been moved forward. So there, I would say the meeting would be on Monday.
Yeah, interesting. And it's split. So some people will say the meeting is moved forward to Monday, and some people will think that it's now Friday.
Yeah. Forward in time. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's ambiguous, and there's some really fascinating things about how we see time. So, for example, the typical Western way of talking about time is that time is like this long timeline that's spread out in front of us.
Yeah.
And so the future is ahead of us, as we would say, and the past is behind us.
Yes.
But that's not true for every culture. And there are some cultures where they say, well, you can see the past, but you can't see the future. So for them, the future's stretching out behind them, but the past is in front of them because that's what they can see. You can see.
Fair enough. It's logical. There's logic to that.
Yeah, and so it's just really fascinating ways that, like, actually, we don't all see these things the same way.
Wow, I'm trying to get my head around that. That takes quite a bit of conscious effort to think about the past in front of you and the future behind you. Yeah, I even had to think about saying that as I said it.
Yeah, no, it's a kind of crazy one. And there was a great example also. She talks about there's an Aboriginal tribe who don't have words. They wouldn't use words for left and right, and so they do everything by like the cardinal directions, the compass directions, essentially. So everything's north, south, east, and west. And so whichever way you're facing, you always know which it is. And so she gives an example. You'd literally say, oh look, there's an ant on your southwest leg.
Huh.
Or can you pass me the salt on your northeast?
But does that mean that you're constantly aware of where north, south, east, and west is?
Yes.
From the
so they're always paying attention whichever way they're facing. And apparently the way you greet each other there is you say hello and you say which direction you're heading in.
Huh.
That's kind of how you say hello. And for them, time doesn't stretch forward or backwards, it goes east west. So just really like slightly mind-blowing things. You can't see Rob, but I've never seen his eyes quite so wide. He's lost for words and his eyes are wide. Yeah, it's just so yeah. I mean, you should check out. She does a really good TED talk about how language shapes how we think, which is really good. Tons of good stuff in it.
All music on this podcast series is sourced from the very talented Frank Cinelli. And you can find loads more tracks at frankcinelli.com.